India mourns the loss of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, who passed away at the age of 92. A visionary statesman who heralded the crucial reforms, he leaves behind a legacy of political and economic achievements. His life's journey is reflective of his intellectual brilliance and unwavering dedication. Dr. Manmohan Singh came from a humble background. He was born on 26th of September 1932 in Gah. This is a village in the Punjab province of British India, that is now Pakistan. He suffered a tragedy early in life. His mother passed away when he was very young. Dr. Manmohan Singh was then raised by his paternal grandmother Jamna Devi. His early schooling was in Urdu medium till he was about 10 years of age. In fact, as Prime Minister years later, Dr. Manmohan Singh would write his Hindi speeches in the Urdu script. He was also enrolled in an upper primary school in Peshawar. However, the horrors of partition struck soon. His family decided to migrate to India and settle in Haldwani. Merely a year after, that is in 1948, Dr. Manmohan Singh relocated to Amritsar. In Amritsar, he was focused on finishing his school. He pursued his studies at Hindu College, following which Dr. Manmohan Singh attended Punjab University, the campus that was located in Hoshiarpur. He studied economics and got his bachelor's and master's degrees in 1952 and 1954, respectively. What's interesting is that he stood first in his batch throughout his academic career. His academic brilliance led to him becoming a Tata Scholar and attending Cambridge University. When at Cambridge, his marvelous intelligence yielded him the Wrenbury Scholarship. Dr. Manmohan Singh completed his economics tripos at Cambridge in 1957 as a member of St. John's College. After Cambridge, he returned to India and served as a teacher at Punjab University. Later in 1960, he went to the University of Oxford for his DPhil, where he was a member of Nuffield College. Dr. Manmohan Singh completed his doctoral thesis in 1962 under the supervision of renowned economist Ian Little. His thesis was titled India's Export Performance 1951 to 1960, Export Prospects and Policy Implications. From humble beginnings, Dr. Manmohan Singh's journey is truly remarkable. He was born prior to independence, he witnessed the partition, he belonged to the generation that went through the struggles of independence, and that was truly a trying time for the country, and there were mass migration amid riots, there were famines that raged, and there was no food or milk during the difficult time. Dr. Manmohan Singh belongs to the generation whose hopes and dreams and aspirations built independent India. I am going to delve into this topic, particularly about Dr. Manmohan Singh's history right from the time he was in Pakistan, when he moved to India. He finished his education, was a scholar through and through, was top in his batch every single time and everywhere that he studied, and of course he succeeded by his wife and 3 daughters. I have with me Alok Mehta. He is the editorial director, India News. Thank you, sir, for joining me on the telecast. We are talking about the legacy of Dr. Manmohan Singh, and we must start from the time that he was born, his educational qualifications. Despite coming from a very humble background, he strived to achieve greatness, and so he did, and therefore was recognized and at every step of his career, whether it was his professional career or later on when he decided to take a leap into Indian politics, not just being the governor of the country, not just being the finance minister of the country, but he was at the helm of affairs twice in the 2 terms that he became Prime Minister of the country.
Megha, thank you very much. And because really I feel he was a real Gandhian person. You know, in Congress party, they changed the liberalization and the open economy. But he was real Gandhian in that sense, because the background you already informed, and earlier also the whole day we were talking about it. So I will mention 2-3 very interesting aspects to you. When he was the finance minister, then I interviewed him after first budget, and later on also I used to meet him when he was the prime minister. But at that time also he was very confident in 91-92, when everything was in a very bad situation, economic was very bad. But he said, no, India will make it we will liberalize, we will open the market, we will open the number of the other socialist, so-called socialist or communist type of policies. And but afterwards, for 5 years he was finance minister, and then I saw him when he contested one election. One Deepak Malhotra, I still remember now, is no more, the Congress, very young leader. He was also the president of the college in Lodi Road. There was a college, still there is a college. So, and he asked me in India National Center, oh, Dr. Manmohan Singh is contesting from South Delhi. His profile is so lengthy. He brought 4 pages. So how I can summarize it? Mr. Mehta, can you help me? Can you imagine these kind of money? He was not bothered, we will win or lose. Somebody who will make it his profile in a brief and publicize it, he was not at all bothered. So you can imagine, and certainly it was a great loss for the party also that he lost this first election, and he never contested any elections, not for Panchayat or Nagarpalika or Assembly or Parliament. But even then, he was so committed with the ideological, what he wants for the Gandhian philosophy. And then after this all, when he was so important, open the market, I know the big, now the corporate world, they used to meet him and he helped everybody, not Birla, Tata, Hinduja, Ambani, Adani, everybody. That's why I'm mentioning here, because now people talk about the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but as a finance minister also, he tried to promote all these new corporate, new industrialists in India. And then when in 2004, before this election, I'm just cutting short, I was sitting with in a Congress, this room where in Lodi Road, there was a control room kind of thing. Ambika Soni was in charge, and Jairam Ramesh was also there. So I was just wanted to check what will be the programs and what is happening there. And this was very interesting that Dr. Manmohan Singh came in a Maruti 800 car driving himself. Can you imagine so many experience? He was a Reserve Bank governor, he was a finance minister, he was a UGC member, he was planning commission member. But he was so simple, himself driving the car. And then when he came, frankly speaking, they were thinking that how he will, because he is not a politician, he will go for campaigning for party, then he have to arrange or give the points and everything. So they were not imagining that Dr. Manmohan Singh, after this election, will be the Prime Minister of India. These kind of humbleness, he just listened, because Sony, they went in another room and he got some briefing about the program for an election meeting, and then he left. So that's why the two incident shows that if you become and then after when he became Prime Minister, just now I have just read some security people from his security. He said, okay, I'm not going by this Maruti 800. Even he was missing as a Prime Minister of India to go by his Maruti 800 in a simple way. Nowadays, now corporator, they have the Aam Aadmi Party or any other party, corporator or MLAs, they have the luxurious and when I want to see in some program to attend the program, Arvind Kejriwal party people or security said, no, you can't enter this. Yeah. In my area, they were some. So these kind of VIP now, and what Dr. Manmohan Singh was there, that's why
he used to advocate and even practice, not just preach, but also practice what he believed in. I also have with me Jangbir Singh. He was an aide to Dr. Manmohan Singh between 2000 and 2004. Jangbir Singh, I would like to understand from you, because you worked with Dr. Manmohan Singh in close quarters, you knew the man. What was your experience like?
I was very fortunate to be with him and travel with him on various campaigns. This was a time when he was in the Rajya Sabha just prior to becoming Prime Minister. And to take on where Mr. Editor just gave some stories, I'd like to share an incident with you. We were going to Chandigarh campaigning in Punjab, and the Shatabdi leaves rather early in the morning. So Dr. Saab asked me that if I could pick him up, and though he had official car, he said the official car is not available before 8:30. So if somebody can pick us up and drop us. So it was just Dr. Saab and myself standing on New Delhi railway station. And this was after he had become finance minister. What the reason why I'm telling you this story is that how humble he was, and his moral ethics were very high caliber at that time. It didn't matter whether we traveled by Bolero or by private aircraft. It just, even half the time we would get a ticket in the economy. But everywhere his personality came ahead. People came forth and asked him to move up to a more comfortable seat. He interacted, though he was a man of few words, but he interacted with everybody. I was just very fortunate to have been with him for those years, just till the date he was Prime Minister. And the learning I had in that was surpasses anything I have learned in my life.
Joyita, coming to you and talking about his humble beginnings, and that have also been reflected in the way he has grown in his career, professional as well as his political career. Let's take a look at his graph. After having finished his education in 1967, he had passed with flying colors in every single of these institutes, top-notch Ivy League institutes that he studied in. And then you take a look at his trajectory, his professional trajectory: Economic Advisory, Ministry of Foreign Trade. He was the Chief Economic Advisor in the Finance Ministry, Secretary at the Department of the Economic Affairs, Finance Ministry. Then he became the Governor of the RBI. This was under Indira Gandhi regime. Then Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission under Rajiv Gandhi as the Prime Minister, Advisor to the Prime Minister on Economic Affairs during the time of Chandrasekhar Azad. And then, Chairman at the University Grants Commission 1991. And then from there on, he had a steep rise when he actually became part of the active politics, becoming the active part of politics and governance, particularly when he became the finance minister, and of course after that being the Rajya Sabha member of parliament, and then becoming the prime minister of the country. Do you think the fact that he grew in a certain way with the values that he imbibed from his childhood were also reflected in his demeanor, in the way he greeted people, in the way he addressed the parliament several times as the finance minister and then the prime minister as well, and his outlook towards the welfare and the growth of the country, keeping in mind he had seen the very difficult time of the partition of the country?
Well, I think what is the most remarkable thing about Dr. Manmohan Singh was from where he rose. I mean, from the humble beginnings he rose, because you see, once somebody is in kind of a public life, they either take a course or a particular course to the top, or they kind of sometimes fade away. There are many other things that are involved in it, circumstances, political relationship, a whole lot of things. But when you see his roots, the way he rose, I think that is the most impressive thing. Born in pre-partition India, which is now actually in Pakistan. From there, he obviously was a brilliant man. Brilliant child and from there to, the kind of institutions he attended, the studies, the awards he got. So I think that is absolutely amazing, and he was actually a self-made man. So one should be, proud of that fact without going into the political part of it, because the minute you are talking about his legacy as prime minister and all, there will be a lot of things that people will be talking about, so I don't want to get into that part. I would rather restrict myself with the values that, as you talked about, the values he brought from what his upbringing was, the values he cultivated and nurtured throughout his rule. But at the same time, I wish as prime minister he was a little more, everybody knows about the controversies that happened, so let us not talk about it, but he deserved better as prime minister.
I am going to come back to you, Alok Mehta, and the former prime minister of our country, Dr. Manmohan Singh, perhaps one of the last prime ministers, one of the last political leaders who went through the difficult turmoil that the countrymen faced during partition. He was born in 1932. He saw the rise of India after independence. He saw the entire trajectory from 1947 as a socialist, a sort of a communist kind of an economy, and do you think that led him to pursue the reforms that he envisaged for the country, because he truly believed that India needs to grow, and India in fact has the potential, but there needs to be political will and policies that need to support India in its upward trajectory?
Mehra, you are very right, because he was also a student of economics. Then he was also teaching economics. This Sanjay Baru was also his student or family friend's son. So these kind of people who were also he taught and then also inducted in his team. So always he thought that the good team will work, and especially for the nation building, for the economy. The whole life he spent and was ready to accept anybody from Pranab Mukherjee and Chidambaram. Just now Javita ji was also mentioning about the political problem, not only for the opposition, but for DMK and other partners of the UPA government, but even then for his own work. And now I remember when I was visiting Washington with him, and he was meeting with Mr. Bush, President Bush at the time. So he was relaxed. He never bothered. He's meeting because they used to say at the time also that we want to learn from India, from Dr. Manmohan Singh. So imagine, at that time also the President of United States, that's why the Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave tribute and said, okay, all over the world people recognize him. Because as an economist, he was not a politician. Again, I'll tell you. That's why everybody, and nuclear deal was so difficult. And then he took help from Amar Singh also to get the support from the other parties and how they can manage it, this nuclear deal, especially the left parties were opposing. So to very difficult conditions. You see, Ayodhya issue was there in the Nathurao period, he was not part of it, but at least he was in the cabinet. So same thing, number of crises after the partition or Mrs. Gandhi days, but even then afterwards, he was facing so many challenges as a partner of the government or as a specialist, as an advisor, always the whole life, and he was helping to everybody. And even Prime Minister Narendra Modi also mentioned when he was Chief Minister, I think most of the awards which I remember, that Gujarat used to get the awards for the best performance in the industry or economy and all. And that's why Manmohan Singh also supported when number of people invited from other countries to Gujarat or any other states for development, for economic investments, Dr. Manmohan Singh helped them. This kind of liberal approach, not the conservative, party politics and for the personal benefit or personal benefit, I think it does. And then for journalists also, again, last point I want to make, even I used to write about the 2G and Colgate and even responsible of the ministers about including Chidambaram and everybody. But he never asked me, whenever I meet, never he asked me why you are writing critical, maybe it must be your opinion. He was careful that it's not a personal kind of take we do. Nowadays what is happening, the personal kind of people write. But if you write about the policies or the problems or issues or the corruption, okay, if you have some proof, you can write. Never attacked with media people. That is also a very good sign in a democratic system, and he inspired everybody in the society.
Jangbir Singh, again, when we talk about the 10-year governance period of the former Prime Minister of our country, Dr. Manmohan Singh, he's often termed as a reluctant and an accidental Prime Minister. When leaders speak about him, they talk about his personality, which is benign and gentle and very humble, somebody who was very pliant, maybe to the extent that he was called submissive as well. And like I said, he faced a lot of criticism during his years as the Prime Minister. Do you think his soft nature and being able to work in all kind of circumstances with all kinds of people, mindset, and also, when you have these echo chambers that you have to tackle when it comes to, the large egos of politicians, and you yourself being used to and would prefer working in the background, be working behind the scenes, and as international leaders have also experienced this, saying that he was a very gentle, kind soul, nothing if you take a look at him, speak with him, interact with him, see his speeches, could give away that he was a natural orator, that he was a leader. Do you think that was also part of the success that he achieved through the ranks that he grew right from the time that from being the governor and the deputy chairman at the planning commission, and then later on, of course, being the prime minister? Do you think that was also a part of his success, because he was easy to work with?
The thing is, I'd like to rephrase that. His demeanor was soft-spoken, but he had clarity in mind, and his decisions were firm. So, we interchange that, and if somebody says he's soft-spoken, didn't mean that he cowed under into anything. He was very clear as to the decisions he had to take, and you couldn't deter, because and the key to all of that was that he had a very high moral caliber, and his love for the country was incredible. And occasionally I talked to him, we discussed a bit of politics, and on some decisions he took, he was clear. Just to give you an example, that when we talked about subsidies, and I would ask him that, if we give out freebies, doesn't that make people inefficient? He was like, we have the marginalized, we have to support them, but it's a very fine line in making them improductive. So I have to work with it. And whether it was wee hours of the morning, Dr. Saab, I could see him just solving one problem after the other. But once a decision was made in his mind, he was firm about it. So I wouldn't look at his demeanor or being soft-spoken to be misjudged as that he was a walkover. He was not a walkover. I can tell you that with great assurity.
Okay. Joyda, coming to you and talking about his, the impact that he has left across the globe, because when he spoke about, during one of his last press conferences before the BJP came to power, he spoke about how he hoped that history would regard him remember him in high regard, as compared to the current crop of contemporary media and the leaders of the opposition that portrayed him and attacked him and criticized him over a number of issues. And the proof lies in the eating of the pudding, and there you have it. It's not just within the country that people from all walks of life have come out and celebrated the massive achievements of the man. There have been leaders of the world from all across, whether it's France or United Kingdom, you talk about United States of America, you talk about Japan, they've all, condoled the death of this statesman and spoken about his virtues and the kind of reforms that he brought about in India.
I think when you are looking at talking about history, remembering him, he is always going to be remembered as the architect of the Indian economy, for unleashing that, unleashing the power of the Indian economy. And in the early 1990s, I mean, let's not get into the fact what people talk about, he had no option, or that was actually Narasimha Rao whose mandate it was, and also let's not get into that. As far as history is concerned, he will be remembered as the architect of what India is now today. He laid the foundation stone, and the other governments, I mean the government after consecutive governments, they built upon it. And having said that, Megha, while it is also, I am going to talk straight in this, while it is also whatever the homage is pouring in for Manmohan Singh, let's not forget he was the Prime Minister of India. Okay, so the homage is also actually for the Prime Minister of India. All right, so that is something, and this gentleman rose to that particular post. So that is something to be, and from where, again I am going to say, from where he started, that is something that should be celebrated. All right, because it is possible, it showed that this is possible in India. They say that such things happen in the West, it happens in India also. So Manmohan Singh, if you look at him, he is one of the first examples of that.
Okay, all right, but let's also take a look at the past prime ministers of our country and the kind of achievements that they have been able to fulfill in their tenures, and there are, like I said, only a handful of the prime ministers of our country, which includes Dr. Manmohan Singh at the top of the ranks, who've been able to bring about this massive transformation of the country's economy, which the nation at this point today is enjoying, is reaping the fruits of it. I will continue this conversation on the other side of the break as well. We have delved upon his past, his educational qualifications, his life story, how he grew up, his humble background, and on the other side we're also going to discuss about his tenure, his political career, and how he ended up shaping the way the economy of the country has grown leaps and bounds. Thanks for watching.